and welcome to the eFresh.com Fish and Seafood News. Today is the 4th of November. My name is Kim and these are this week's headlines. Probe into Timor Sea oil disaster. Scientists recommend ban on tuna fishing. Tuna propagation unsustainable. Cuba to extend cooperation. Senator objects raw oyster ban. The company in charge of a rig seeping oil into the Timor Sea will be disciplined if found to have breached any industry practices. PTTEP Australia has tried to plug the well leaking up to 400 barrels a day off the West Australian coast since the spill began on August 21st. The massive oil spill has hit Indonesia, killing fish and destroying livelihoods in poor villages along the Timor Sea. About 7,000 fishermen in East Nusa Tenggara province have been affected by the spill. A survey suggested hundreds of marine animals were at immediate risk, but Mr. Ferguson said it was too early to assess any long-term environmental impacts. Efforts to plug the well were delayed because 4,000 barrels of mud required to plug the well weren't available yesterday. A scientific panel has recommended a ban on taking Atlantic bluefin tuna, saying suspending the catch is the only way the species can recover. The scientists associated with the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tuna made the recommendation after a meeting last week in Madrid. They will make their recommendation to ICCAT next month, the BBC reported. Atlantic bluefin, prized for sushi in Japan, are one of the most valuable commercially fished species. The scientists said current stocks have a biomass about 15% of what it was in the past. Monaco made a formal recommendation October 14th to suspend commercial fishing of Atlantic bluefin under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. The World Wildlife Fund welcomed the scientists' finding. As Australia's tuna industry battles new cuts to its quota, conservation organization Greenpeace says the propagation of tuna will only lead to further degradation of the world's oceans. Australia's Seafood Cooperative Research Centre says propagation could be the answer to keeping the tuna industry alive. But Greenpeace's oceans campaigner Genevieve Quirk says even propagated tuna are not sustainable, as they require other wild fish to feed them. She said that other ecosystems are being deprived, and on top of that, fish protein is exchanged in a totally unsustainable manner. But Dr. Mayer from the Seafood Cooperative Research Centre says new feeds are being developed. He feels that it will go a long way to resolving those issues. He says formulated diets will use much less fish meal and fish oils to achieve weight gains. The Russian and Cuban governments signed an agreement on cooperation in fisheries. The document was signed by head of the Russian Federal Agency on Fisheries and the Cuban Minister of Food Industry. The signed agreement provides for the development of bilateral cooperation in such areas as preservation and rational use of live marine resources, heading off forestalling and busting illegal fishing, exchange of information and documents on fisheries. The document also aims at fishing research, drafting and implementation of scientific and technical programs, development of aquaculture, training and advanced training of personnel for the fishing industry, drafting and implementing joint projects on sea fishing, as well as processing and selling fish goods. United States Senator Mary Landrieu vowed to fight a new Food and Drug Administration proposal that would end the sale of raw oysters that are not subjected to post-harvest processing techniques. This FDA regulation would adversely affect the state's oyster industry and could cripple many South Louisiana restaurants that feature oysters on their menus. The Louisiana oyster industry currently employs 3,500 Louisianans and has an estimated $318 million impact on the state. Last year, there were more than 87 million cases of food-related illnesses, 371,000 hospitalizations, and 5,700 deaths. However, only 15 individuals with pre-existing conditions died from eating raw oysters last year. Thank you for watching the eFresh.com Fish and Seafood News. See you next time.